Reviving an age-old tradition in the Middle East. This is a fish story. It takes place in the nation of Qatar, which is sometimes called Qatar, and it recalls a time when the fathers or grandfathers of these men lived off the sea. Boats like these dhows used to be much more common in the Persian Gulf before Qatar's oil and gas industries made it one of the richest nations on earth. Now, instead of pearl diving or fishing to make a living, these men are doing it to preserve their heritage. And they're doing it with simple fishing lines held by hand in a competition that recently brought 54 different teams out onto the waves. Prizes are awarded for the biggest fish, as well as the quality and variety of a catch gathered over several days at sea. The support from friends, the camaraderie, the remembrance of their ancestors' hard work are all reasons why participants set sail. One competitor said, "Winning is nice, but we are here to enjoy." I'm Azuz for the World from A to Z, and we're happy to be hanging out with you as the week winds down. Friday is only a day away. From the Middle East, we're moving to southern Asia, where India and Pakistan may be on the brink of full-scale war. The line section of this map shows Kashmir. It's a disputed territory that India and Pakistan both say should belong to them. They've fought numerous wars over it in the past, and it was in an Indian-controlled part of Kashmir that a terrorist attack killed 26 tourists last month. Almost all of them were Indian. The militants that said they carried out the assault are members of a terrorist group based in Pakistan. That country's government says it has no connections to the group and no ties to the attack. But India blamed Pakistan for supporting terrorist groups in Kashmir. And on Wednesday, India's armed forces struck 9 sites in Pakistan and in part of Kashmir controlled by Pakistan. Indian officials say they were targeting terrorist locations where more attacks against India were being planned. Pakistan says civilian areas were hit, that at least 31 people were killed, and that its air force shot down 5 Indian warplanes. Pakistan also called the strikes an act of war and promised to hit back. It shelled an Indian area overnight and killed 12 civilians there, according to India, though Pakistan says it's only targeting military sites. So, a lot of back and forth between these two countries that both have powerful militaries, and leaders around the world are calling on them to hold off on future attacks, to do more to protect civilians, and to look for a diplomatic solution to stop the fighting.
Where in the world? This place is located in one of the original 13 colonies. It was the site of a significant U.S. Civil War battle in 1864 and a city that Union General William T. Sherman burned on his march to the sea. Afterward, though, it became the capital of the Peach State. This is Atlanta, the city established as Georgia's capital in 1868.
Today is VE Day, or Victory in Europe Day, the date in 1945 when World War II ended on the continent. Nazi Germany had signed its unconditional surrender, and German troops laid down their arms. People took to the streets to celebrate the end of the fighting that saw tens of millions lose their lives. VE Day celebrations continue across Europe today. On this date in 1927, French war heroes Charles Nungesser and Francois Colli boarded a biplane, hoping to make the world's first non-stop flight between Paris, France, and New York City. Their plane, the White Bird, was last seen flying over Ireland, but mysteriously disappeared afterward. No one knows what happened. 2 weeks after that, American aviator Charles Lindbergh became the first to fly that route non-stop. And on May 8, 1886, American chemist John Pemberton sold a jug of his latest medicine to a pharmacy in Atlanta, Georgia. It was marketed as a cure-all to treat a wide array of ailments. While it didn't last as a medicine, it did do well as the soft drink we now know as Coca-Cola. Another historic event factors into our next story. It involves an all-female and predominantly African-American Army battalion that served the U.S. during World War II.
The SixTripleEight. It was the only battalion of Black women to serve in Europe during World War II. Their job was to solve a growing problem, a wartime male crisis. Mountains of undelivered mail and unopened packages were piling up. Christmas came and went, and soldiers who never received their mail started to grumble. That's when the US Army called on the 6/888. Their motto? No mail, low morale. Ships bringing the women to Europe had to dodge German U-boats, and once the battalion arrived, it was sent to unheated airplane hangars that were infested with rats. But the servicewomen faced a more heartbreaking situation. In those years, Army units were segregated by race, and women like Major Fanny Griffin McClendon faced real prejudice.
When we took our pictures, all of the black women went back to the barracks. The others went to the club and had a party. We weren't invited. So you went through those things, but you didn't sit down and cry about it.
To overcome the sheer volume, 6/888 worked around the clock, processing about 65,000 letters and packages every shift. And that's not to mention some real detective work. In some cases, the only clue on a piece of mail was a very common name, and other times, just a service member's nickname. In the end, the hardworking battalion managed to clear a backlog of 17 million pieces of mail in 3 months, twice as fast as projected.
The 6/888 returned home to the U.S. in 1946 without any official recognition for the work they'd done. But in the years that followed, their story started getting attention. Books were written, movies and plays were made. They received several honors, including Congress's highest civilian award. The Congressional Gold Medal was presented to the 6/888 this year after being approved and signed in 2022. Major Fanny Griffin McClendon and Anna Mae Robertson are believed to be the only surviving members of the battalion. What day is it? May 8th is National Student Nurse Day, which is part of National Nurses Week. Today's occasion recognizes the contributions of student nurses to the U.S. healthcare system and supports them in their ongoing education. All 3 schools we're spotlighting today commented on a recent show at youtube.com/@theworldat2z. Utah is known as the Beehive State, but it's the Hawks that are flying high over North San Pete High School. Great to see the students and teachers watching from Mount Pleasant. Meantime, Mr. Massey's class is here from Marion, North Carolina. McDowell High School is the home of the Titans in the Tar Heel State. And from the nation of Canada, we're happy to have Mrs. Kentrick's class with us. Spring Glen Junior High School is in Hill Spring, a village in Alberta where the Panthers roam.
World of knowledge. Which of these animals is believed to be extinct? Japanese sea lion, African forest elephant, Javan rhinoceros, African wild dog. While all of these species are endangered, the only one considered extinct since the 1970s is the Japanese sea lion.
A rhythmically trained sea lion made famous for keeping the beat is back for an encore, and researchers say she's now outperforming humans. Keeping tempo with a musical beat can be tricky for some, but not for Ronan the sea lion. It seems she's a natural. Ronan went viral in 2013 when researchers at UC Santa Cruz shared video of the sea lion accurately keeping time with varying musical beats, calling her the only non-human mammal to demonstrate highly precise beat keeping. Now, a new study published in the journal Scientific Reports pitted Ronan against human subjects in a series of timekeeping tests using a drum beat, and data showed the sea lion consistently outperformed her human counterparts, keeping her precision to within a razor-thin 15 milliseconds of the target downbeat. The fascinating study suggests the ability to keep time is not a uniquely human feat. It also showed not only has she got the beat, she's got us beat.
A story that's tough to beat. Even if you've seen it before, it was a ton of fun to stick with it. We got caught in its snare, and at Paradiddle makes sense to tip our hi-hat, ride and roll with such a symbol of a good sense of rhythm that would appeal to our bass at the Crescendo Hour show. I'm Carl Azuz. Thanks for keeping time with us today. This is The World from A to Z, and you mean the world to me.